Hey everyone, it's Zach Wright with IMEO Company, improving management, employees, and organizations where we focus on people, process, and purpose by improving your organization with business coaching and consulting. And today we wanted to provide a little bit of value on the word or the term psychological safe environments. It might have become somewhat of a keyword or a buzzword, but we wanted to dive into what that actually looks like. So if you're interested, keep watching this video. So we want to start with what is psychological safe environments? What does that look like? So I'm going to read this here and then we can talk a little bit more about it. So psychological safety is the belief that you won't be punished or humiliated for speaking up with ideas, questions, concerns, or mistakes. So what that really says is that you are allowed to take risk in your organization. You're allowed to speak up and provide valuable ideas, and it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Really what a psychological safe environment is an environment where you're allowed to be yourself in an organization. Now obviously there's going to be some issues if you go outside of the region of professionalism, so you want to keep it professional, but whenever we're talking about psychological safety environments, we're talking about allowing your employees to bring their whole selves to work and allowing them to feel empowered enough to speak up without the consequences of being punished or humiliated, right? So, how or what does this really look like? And what we're going to be describing here is 4 stages of psychological safety at work specifically, right? So the first stage is inclusion safety. Now, that's a fancy word, but it really means it's a basic human need to connect and belong. And there's studies out there that prove that whenever you have a strong onboarding process that makes employees feel like they belong sooner rather than later, that has a direct correlation or causal effect of how long the employee is going to stay at that organization. So not only are we creating a psychological safe environment to have a strong place to work, but also we're creating it so we actually improve retention and we allow people to feel empowered where they want to stay at that organization. And what you'll find with inclusion is if that person feels like they belong in the organization, then they're more likely to stay even whenever they get offered a position that is higher in pay, right? Because they feel like they belong. Think about the time that you found your friend group and you really found the people that accepted you for who you are. You probably still have them as friends. Or if you're not there yet, you're probably still searching for those people because inclusion is such a strong human need, right? It could be conscious, it could be subconscious. But in this stage, you feel safe to be yourself and you are accepted for who you are, including your unique attributes and defining characteristics, right? So for me, I'm obsessed with business. That's my unique attribute. I talk about business. I want to help small business owners, tech startups, large enterprises, large companies. I want to talk about these things. And I also obviously want to talk about how we can improve organizations and how they interact with their employees. So if the company that I work for accepts my unique attributes and defining characteristics, then I'm probably going to want to stay there longer than a company that doesn't necessarily do that. And I've actually had that play out for me multiple times. And I'm actually at a company beyond IMEO. Obviously, IMEO accepts me, but I'm at another company where I'm on the leadership team and they accept my workaholic, my obsession with business, my passion. They accept that and they accept all the other things that come along with that. So I feel very included. And if you felt included in an organization, then you understand why stage one of psychological safety is so important. Then we'll go to stage two here. And that's going to be learner safety. Now, learner safety satisfies the need to learn and grow. And we've talked about this with the job characteristics model, because that's going to be a growth need strength. So I'm going to combine stage two learner safety and growth need strengths here. So whenever we're talking about satisfying the need to learn and grow, it has to match that desire of which the employee wants to grow. Because there's a downfall if the learning and growing is too aggressive and it doesn't match the employee's growth need strength. Because if we're pushing them too hard, we could actually have that as a demotivator. And vice versa, if we're not pushing them enough, they could go search where they want to find something more challenging. So it's important to find that balance. And the way that you do that is you understand who your employees are. How do you do that? You talk to them. I find it fascinating whenever I have to say things like that, because a lot of leaders want to understand how can they influence their employees more? How can they understand what motivates them more? And the answer is talk to them. I don't know why we feel as leaders that we have to be this macho person, or we have to be this person that knows everything, or we can't be vulnerable. That's the exact opposite of the way that you should feel. You should be vulnerable, open up, learn about your people, and understand what motivates them. And that can ensure that you deliver a learner safety environment. So just to continue here, in this stage, you feel safe to exchange in the learning process by asking questions, giving and receiving feedback, experimenting and making mistakes. So not only developing and growing, you also have the ability and you're empowered to ask questions. I've been in organizations where I didn't feel comfortable, and I'm a pretty confident person. I didn't feel comfortable in asking questions because I felt like I was going to get laughed at, or I felt like I was going to get some condescending response. So I would keep that down, or I would do research on my own. But you have to create an environment where people can ask questions, because the more people ask questions, the more clarity and alignment comes to the surface. And obviously, the more clear and aligned you are as a team, as employees, as a business, you're going to be able to accomplish more, right? And the other piece of the puzzle here is giving and receiving feedback. So, another misconception whenever it comes to leadership is that you're the only one giving feedback. And again, that's not true. You want to create an environment where you open the floor for people to give you constructive feedback. And feedback can be good or bad, right? So they can praise you just like you praise them. They could give you constructive feedback just like you give them constructive feedback. But if you don't have a psychological safe environment, they're probably not going to be willing to open that up. And the benefits of this is whenever you open that up, you're able to become a better leader. And the better leader that you are, the better your employees will become, and the possibility of you creating more leaders, which is always better for the company, right? Then we're talking about experimenting and making mistakes. Now, this is really taking risk without receiving consequences. But I would take it a step further and say, if you're going to take a risk, or you're going to experiment and you're going to make those mistakes, that is okay. But only if you learn from it, right? You can't continue to make the same mistakes over and over again without receiving consequences, because that just means that you're not performing to your best ability. Now, if you're performing and you're making mistakes and you're trying to grow and adapt from what you've learned based off of those experimentations or mistakes, that is a learner safety environment, right? Because we have to take into account that we are running a business. So we can't neglect the fact that if there are going to be people who are underperforming that just don't make it to the next step. But along the way, you want to be transparent with them so they're not getting caught off guard. And you want to be able to coach them and try to improve them. And if you don't see those improvements, that's when you have to take the next step. But this is learner safety. We'll go to stage 3 here. Stage 3 is contributor safety. So this really satisfies the need to make a difference. You feel safe to use your skills and ability to make a meaningful contribution. This is so key because it goes and brings in inclusion and learner safety, right? Because if you feel included, you're more likely to contribute your skills and your ability. And if you are able to ask questions, you're able to feel more confident in providing the right type of skills and providing the right type of meaningful contribution into the contributor safety environment, right? It's almost like a compounding effect. That's why I created this funnel here so we can look at it as we approach these different stages. We're building on top of each other. So a contributor safety is, in a sense, showing that employee the purpose that they have in the organization. And they feel safe enough to say, hey, you know what? This isn't actually part of my job, but I learned this skill when I was working over here, and I think I could really help out. Would you be okay if I helped you in this and deliver this contribution? And that makes employees feel empowered. It makes them feel like they have ownership or autonomy of what they do in the organization. Now, I was a little bit quick on that, but I'll go into stage 4 here, which is challenger safety. So challenger safety satisfies the needs to make things better. So I have my Lean Six Sigma certification. I'm always looking for ways to improve a process, a procedure, or ways to build upon whatever it is that's going to make the company more effective or the team more effective or the person more effective, right? So this challenger safety, you feel safe to speak up and challenge the status quo when you think there's an opportunity to change or improve. Now, in more traditional organizations, more that are hierarchy driven or bureaucratic, it's going to be hard for you to feel safe and speak up without the thought that your job might be conflicted from what you said, right? So it's that consequence that really takes that away from the safety environment. And with the challenger safety, this is where innovation and creativity comes into play. It's the way that you take your company from stage 1 to stage 10, or how people like to say they 10x the company, right? You're looking, or you're empowered to see things that are not happening in the company right now and provide value by opening up and challenging, like I said, the status quo. That gives you the opportunity to change and improve, and putting all these things together. So inclusion safety, learner safety, contributor safety, and challenger safety, that gives you the ability to probably get a promotion or get more recognition or be more incentivized, right? But the real underlining theme of why you want to focus so much on creating a psychological safe environment is because it allows your employees to feel empowered. It allows them to take ownership, and it allows them to speak up without feeling like they're going to be rejected, or feeling like there's going to be a consequence, or feeling like they're going to be ridiculed. So if you don't take this seriously, then you are probably going to see turnover in your organization. And we're at a stage in time, just so everybody knows, I'm recording this October 23rd, 2021. We're at a time where people are talking about the great resignation, right? Why is that happening? It's because people don't feel safe at their work. They don't feel like they're contributing an important piece of what needs to be done at the organization. It feels like they're not included. A lot of people are working remotely. I myself work 100% remotely, and I know that you have to be intentional with communication, building culture, and making sure that your people are heard, especially in a 100% remote environment. So the great resignation could stem from people not feeling safe at work, right? And I know that safe is usually contributed to injury or trying to avoid injury and things of that nature. Well, if we think about this, just like our physical body can be injured, our mental mind can be injured as well. So if somebody speaks up in the organization and they're not allowed to deliver what it is that they want to deliver without being shut down, then that is a mental injury. And if you continue to have those mental injuries over and over, or even if you deliver them yourself, that employee is going to feel demotivated, less engaged. They're not going to feel inspired to come to work and put their best effort or put their best foot forward. So that's why it's so important to focus on psychological safety. It's not a soft word. It is something that every organization needs to focus on and something that every organization can benefit from, as well as the employees and leaders. So, with IMEO, if you want us to come in and help you create a strategy for implementing psychological safety at work, definitely reach out to us. My direct email is zwright, WRIGHT, at IMEOconsulting.com, or you can check out our website at IMEOcompany.com. And we also have our Creating Culture That Works workshop that is available, where we go in deeper detail of what it takes to create employees that are more engaged, satisfied, and productive. And we talk about a lot of different things there. So if you're interested in that, definitely reach out to us as well. But thanks so much for watching this video, and we'll see you on the next one.